Hi, this is Craig with the Everyday Makers. Today we're going to talk about something that a million people have talked about, and I'm no different. It's a problem we all have. Let's talk about a little bit of dust collection. This is a simple dust collection. This is the Everyday Makers version of the dust collection. I don't have a whole ton of money or a ton of space for a big, huge dust collector, so we're going to do the way that most people start out with, just a shop vac and cyclone dust collection. Here's the way I do it. The number one starting point for most people is a shop vac. This is just a shop vac that I think I got off a buddy a long time ago, just nothing special at all. Just a standard shop vac. I've currently got this going out. It's a 2.5-inch hose. Got it going out a 2.5-inch hose up to the end of this PVC line that I've got strapped to the back of this table. I'll get a better shot of that in a second. Just basically 2.5-inch hose straight into the PVC on the back of this workbench. From there, my PVC line goes all the way down the workbench, down to the other end. This gives me the best place in my particular shop to put things. Definitely not for everybody, but this is the way it works for me the best. From there, that PVC line comes in over here, goes over to a 2.5-inch hose into my dust collector. Goes into the top. That's where the actual vacuum is into a dust collection cyclone. This is the cheap Harbor Freight Dustopper cyclone. It's one that a lot of people start with. It's nothing special. It's good enough. I want to say it's between 40 and 50 bucks for the little set. It just uses a 5-gallon bucket for the base, cyclone in the top, vacuum in, vacuum out. Once again, nothing special. There's way better ones in the market, but there's way pricier ones in the market too. So this is a good one to start with. From there, it comes out of the cyclone over to here into this pipe. This pipe is now, everything that goes through it is now going through that cyclone, cleaning out the dust, separating out the particles, minimizing the stuff that actually goes in the shop vac. It doesn't do the super fine dust just due to the cyclone quality, but it does the majority of the stuff that's a problem. And the place my vacuum's at is far enough away, it kind of helps keep the air a little bit better where I'm at. This goes into a T fitting. It's kind of a wide T. 90-degree fittings are not recommended as it kills your airflow. So a hard 90 bend really isn't good. You want something that's more of a sweeping 90. This gets the job done. My lighting's kind of crappy over here, but this will show you where that sweeping 90 comes out. Sweeping 90 comes out right here and actually also continues straight along the bottom of the desk here and around the corner. This is one of 2 workbenches in my shop. This one houses my miter saw and my bench grinder. And so it's got its solid place that I'm always going to need some dust collection over in this corner, so it's useful to have it. This pipe actually goes across the room to my other side, and I'll show you that in a minute. But what this does is it comes around this corner. This corner does quick disconnect just using PVC. And this is actually an adapter that I'll show you how to make in a minute. It goes from a standard 2.5-inch hose to PVC. Because a 2.5-inch hose won't line up with a standard PVC joint. It's the same size, so it won't line up. And if you try and put it in a connector, it's just way, way too loose. So you make these adapters that go from 2.5-inch down to 2-inch PVC. Does a great job, allows you to kind of quick swap stuff around really easy. Whole lot cheaper than buying the actual ones. And the actual ones are really, really nice, but this is a whole lot cheaper to get started. It kind of gives you a chance to find out whether dust collection is going to help you, what you need to modify, just different things that you can find to customize your system. So right now this is hooked up to my miter saw, but if I want to clean the bench, just take that off, and I've got another handheld hose right here. Swap that in, and I'm cleaning the bench off. And that was the remnants of dust from just making the dust collection. Before I did this, I had the shop vac kind of halfway hooked up into there, but it was just an underpowered shop vac. I swapped between a little one I bought just for the purpose of dust collection, swapped out to the bigger one that I normally didn't use except for like to take out to the car and things like that, but it really is stronger and better for what I want. Now let's look at the actual switch I use to turn on my system, because that's a little side thing that I strapped together. So this is a little switch panel that I put together. This is the power cord to the shop vac that I've got run back behind the desk over to there. From here, I've got a light switch wired straight to a plug. Goes out to a power strip that I've got on the back of the workbench here that I use to plug in all my various tools and such. That turns that plug on, that turns that plug off. Very, very simple wiring. Basically a glorified extension cord with a switch. Plug it in. Now we just leave the actual vacuum on all the time, and I turn the switch on and off. Works out great. Gives me a better remote location to where I can actually use it where I need it. I don't have to push away boxes or move anything around to get to it. It's perfect. And when I'm not actually using one of the open ports, because I've got several around the shop now, I use these plugs. All this is a PVC end cap, just a plumbing end cap. They're about $1.25, something like that. Little tiny chunk of PVC. Plugs that up. It basically works like a blast gate. It's real simple. So you just take that, plug it up, any holes you're not using, leaves the holes you want open and easy access. Coming out of the back of that whole section where I sent the tee up, goes up the wall via a 2-inch hose. These are 2-inch hoses from Rigid from Home Depot. They're about 21 bucks a piece for the 7-foot 2-inch hoses. I might look to see if I need any more, see if I can find a cheaper version of it, but realistically that's not bad. That goes up to a pipe, once again made with one of those adapters, up and overhead. This crosses over to the other side of my garage. Real simple way to basically get from one side to the other. I don't have really that much of a use for like 4-inch pipe or anything like that. 2 inches working just fine for what I need. Then once we get over to the other side of the shop overhead, we come down here, make a couple bends real quick here, and those I might swap out. I've got them in a long 90. They're not the direct T90s, but I might swap it out even to go with 45s and things like that, like a lot of other people use, to kind of smooth out the overall airflow, because the harder of a corner you get, the more restricted it is. Turn this way, we head down this way. So once we get over here, you can see going across the ceiling there, into one of those long T's that's more like a kind of a funky Y that extends down. It's more than just your normal Y. Extends down, it's got a cap in the end for future expansion, so I can bring this all the way down on the wall if I want to, or I can be done here and just, it'll be peachy. Down the wall, juts out. Right here, I got it going about 2 feet out from the wall. So that's clear my toolbox, clear my shelving unit. I just have it basically zip tied to the shelving unit to keep it supported and straight. It's not going to really require a whole lot. Nobody's standing on it or anything like that. Just kind of keeps it where I want it, but it's not super permanent should I ever want to change it. So that's easy. And I can actually strap to the studs on the back on the wall, giving it more support actually at the bend that it makes. Right here, another one of those quick caps. Gives me the ability to plug in things like a hose, an extension, and a wand so I can clean the floor. It also gives me the ability to plug in my little hose I was using over on the other side. Use that right at my shop bench over here. Basically, this is just the way that I found to be the most flexible for a lot of things. Because from over at this workbench, this is where I do a lot of the work. This is where a lot of the stuff is filmed that you guys see from top down and things like that. I'm right over here. I got vacuum line, 1.5 feet, 2 feet over to the table. So this will be great for helping me keep those wood chips in control. I've been using the router more and more, and routers are horrible for wood chips. So that'll really help with that, being able to actually have a line I can keep right there, right next to it. Just makes life a whole lot easier. I hate a super messy shop, and I know that's just kind of part of the game sometimes, but anything I can do to kind of help out with that, the better. This is not a multi-$1,000 dust collection system that I'm expecting perfection out of, but anything is better. I just really hate having a workbench 2 inches thick with wood shavings. It's hard to work around things like that. This will help out quite a bit. So the one thing that I mentioned as far as those quick caps that adapt everything to make it quick disconnect over to the PVC, makes it all super simple. All that requires is a small chunk of PVC. It's really easy. And that's the thing that I'm going to show you in this video today. It's a very quick process, but it's super handy to know how to do it. There's been a million videos made on it, but this is just how I did it, how I chose to make it work. There's way more complex versions. There's way cooler versions, all that good stuff. If you want to do that, I fully support it. If you want to 3D print something or something like that, I 100% support that. That's a great thing to do. That's just the way that works for me. It's really, really cheap. I've got right here probably 40 cents worth of PVC. Like, this is not much. An entire 10-foot stick costs $7.98. This is not a 10-foot stick. This is a tiny portion of that. Real easy. Heat gun. That's your only tool you need for this. This is one of the ends of the hose. I'm using the 2.5-inch hose. It comes with multiple ends. You can choose which one you want. This is just one that's this particular design, but it's 2.5-inch standard stuff. We're going to use this basically to make it easy to fit in this. You can use your actual hose itself. You don't need a separate end or anything like that. The end that's on your hose will work just fine. This one's just easier for me to work with. I can turn it however I want, things like that. Real easy. All we're going to do, take the heat gun, heat real evenly around the outside. And we just want to heat one end. We don't need to heat the whole thing. We just want to heat one end. Once that's pliable, and you'll see it start to get shiny. It's hard to see on camera, but when you actually see this, you'll see it go from real dull to like almost a gloss. And that's how you can tell it's really kind of getting where you need it to be. Make sure to heat it some on the inside, some on the outside. That tends to help. You want it to just basically be evenly heated without charbroiling it to death. Once it's heated, we're going to shove this in. But this won't work real well. It does a terrible job of making that happen. I've found it's really, really good to run it in about 45 degrees, get it in there, put pressure on it, and twist the PVC. And you'll see the PVC start to just stretch open little by little over the entire thing until it's big enough you can actually jam that in there and hold it. So we'll watch how this is done. It's really, really easy to do. So yeah, have to let this cool down a little bit because it will be nice and toasty. You're done. That's all there is to it. It's super simple. It does take a minute because PVC, there's a lot of mass there, so the heat takes a sec. My heat gun is not the most rock star thing in the world, so you might have something more amazing. That's great. But just don't be in a super hurry. The more hurry you get, the more you're likely to burn the outside. Because if it doesn't heat all the way through, if you got super, super hot heat on it, like if you're using a torch or something like that, it'll just blacken the outside and it won't heat all the way through. You want kind of a more mellow, just consistent heat. It gets great. I mean, it's a good, solid product. If you wanted, you could add a little bit of silicone or a little glue or something there to keep it on it. But really, it holds pretty tight. And I like the ability to, if I need to remove it for any reason, to be able to remove it. It's still airtight seal, works great. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. So you can make those, plug them right in. Perfect. So yeah, thanks again for watching another Everyday Makers video. We really appreciate it. Hope pick something up that you can use. There's a million different ways to do dust collection. This is just the way I've chosen to go with it. Like I said, there's way more expensive stuff, way cheaper stuff. You can start at any level you want, and you can always expand, which is the best part. You're never stuck. So buy a handful of things that work for you. 2.5-inch hose is kind of the standard size of hoses, so if you can keep from going in any different direction than that, that'll last you way longer. Big dust collection can get 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, big, huge pipes. 2.5 will start you out. You can always adapt your 2.5 to be something else. And there's always very, very easy ways to go from 5-inch down to a 2.5-inch collector, so you can use still some of the 2.5-inch accessories you bought, things like that. So basically, that's the way that I've chosen to go. All encompassing, not including the shop vac, because hopefully you already have one of those. The Dustopper, the Cyclone, the pipes, the hoses, everything. I'm into it probably $2.25, give or take. The hoses are relatively expensive. Like I said, $20 a pop. Those are relatively expensive in the scheme of things. And the Dust Cyclone was a little bit of a cost at between $40 and $50. For the most part, though, it's really not bad. I mean, you could spend thousands on dust collection for $2.25-ish. I've got dust collection that'll work perfectly for my shop. It's great. I'm real happy with it. So don't forget, like, subscribe, reshare. Please subscribe. It's the more people we get that we can share our videos with, the better. So if you subscribe, it'll let you be notified right away of when videos are coming out, things like that. You can have a better chance of seeing us quickly. Short of that, we really appreciate it. Don't forget, share. If you know somebody that you go to their garage all the time and it's covered in sawdust, they might have use for this. So send it their way. Just show them something. I mean, they might not even know how to do something like this. It's real simple, and it's, to me, I've watched so many videos on it in the last couple months. To me, this seems really obvious. But if you haven't watched the 100 videos I probably have on it, this might not be obvious. So this is just some little things that work for me that are real cheap, get the job done, make my dust collection way more useful to me. Dust collection's not useful if you don't use it. So don't forget that, and just make it user-friendly for you, make it work for your situation. So like I said, like, subscribe, reshare. We really appreciate it. For now, though, I got some cleaning to do.